Hello girls, a very good morning. In today's class, we're going to finish up with the few of the stanzas that are left of Mathew Arnold's poem Thyrsis. As you have seen in the earlier classes, that the cuckoo and crow are being compared and contrasted. And what reference he makes is that cuckoo does not listen to the poet. Similarly, his friend Thyrsis is not listening to the poet. Then he has given you several examples of Mocus, who is the poet of Sicily, Proserpine, Bion, and then he says the poet claims to know the hill slopes of Oxford much better than anybody. Thyrsis has gone never to return, and the poet also feels the slow approach of death. He feels that he is aging, his cheeks have gone thinner. So these are the things that he is talking about. So now we are going to move forward and see what other things he has to talk about. So your poet begins, but hush, the upland hath a sudden loss of quiet. Look adown the dusk hillside, a troop of Oxford hunters going home, as in old days jovial and talking, ride. From hunting with the Berkshire hounds they come. Quick, let me fly and cross into yon farther field. 'Tis done, and see, backed by the sunside, which thou glorify, the orange and pale violet evening sky, bear on its lonely ridge the tree. So what your poet is trying to say here is the entire area is silent, and then he gives reference to some of the Oxford hunters who are talking on their way home and disturbing the silence in the heart of nature. The poet slinks away to avoid them. He reaches the field to hide himself. The lost glow of the setting sun is reflected upon nature. The poet watches the orange and the pale violet evening sky. At a distance, he can see the elm tree, their symbol of truth, their symbol of idealism. So, in striving to emulate Cillian shepherds by piping a ditty for the lost mate, he not only gives his brief hour, but he also, talks about it's painful when after unsuccessful striving to recover past, he is suddenly started by an unexpected repetition of the past into the instinctive move where it renews it. A troop of Oxford hunters going home as in old days drives in flight, just as in old days they had driven the scholar Gypsy. And he also comes in, acquaintance with the tree that stands there in the world of becoming, bare on its lonely ridge, backed by the sun, which in life's morning had shone so brightly on the bare mountain top of truth. So, and further he says, I take the omen, lets down her veil. The white fog creeps from bush to bush about. The west unflushes, the high stars go bright. And in the scattered farms the light come out. I cannot reach the signal tree tonight, yet happy omen hail. Hear it from thy broad loosened Arnold well. For there thine earth forgetting eyelids keep, the morningless and unawakening sleep under the flowery oleanders leap. So what your poet is saying here, the elm tree for the poet is a happy augury. The tree signifies the immortality of the scholar Gypsy and his quest for truth. The entire area is plunged in darkness. The white fog envelops the bushes. The sky in the west looks dark. The stars twinkle in the sky. The inmates of the farm houses have lighted lamps. Though he has a mind, he is afraid that he cannot reach the elm tree because of the darkness. But he is buoyed up with hope, since the elm tree, according to him, the elm tree is still there. He is anxious to communicate to Chloe the happy news that the elm tree does exist. But the truth dawns upon him that Chloe cannot hear him, for he is laid to eternal rest in the valley of the Arno river. So, if you're going to talk about oleanders is an ever young plant which bears red flowers. And Arno Vale is a bank of river of Arni and Florence, where he died, where Clovis died and buried. And your poet further moves, hear it, O Terraces, still our tree is there. How vain these English fields, this upland dim, these brambles pale with mist engarlanded, that lone sky pointing tree are not for him. To a boon southern country he is fled, and now in happier air, wandering with great mother's strain divine, and purer or more subtle soul than thee. I trow the Almighty Mother doth not see within a holding of Apennine. If you're going to talk about Apennine, Apennine is the enclosure of the mountain Apennine, at the foot of which lies Florence. Boone, southern country, is he's talking about Italy, and he says, the poet with all his efforts cannot hope to tell Clo that the elm tree is still there. Clo is gone forever. Clo can no more see the lovely fields of England, the enchanting darkness shrouding the hills, the shrubs clothed in mist, and the elm tree on the hilltop. He has left the northern climate of England for the warm southern climate. He is now blessed to be in the company of Mother Nature. He is now a member of retinue, listening to the immortal songs. Mother Nature will feel happy to note that among her followers in the valley of Apennine there is no purer than Clo. And thou hearest the immortal chants of old, putting his sickle to the perilous grain in the hot cornfield of the Pyrian king. For thee the literary song again. Young Daphnis with his silver voice doth sings his Sicilian fold, his sheep, his hapless love, his blinded eye, and now a call celestial round him rang, and heavenward from the mountain brink he sprang, and all the marvel of the golden sky. So what your poet is trying to say here is that he died in Italy so he can listen to the pastoral songs by Bion and Moccus. And putting his sickle to the perilous grain is the reaping. It's a contest that happens there, because whosoever loses that particular game is put to death. So the poet is now saying that Thyrsis is now listening to the immortal songs of the ancient pastoral poetry. He is quite likely that young Daphnis, the shepherd of Sicily, is singing the literary song usually sung by the reapers for the entertainment of Terraces. The theme of the song is the perilous contest of reaping corn. As I told you that there is a contest that happens, and whosoever loses that contest is put to death. So the contest of reaping corn, in which Daphnis was involved by Lyturus, the Pyrian king. Daphnis had a mistress named Pipilia. Lyturus made a wager that Pipilia should be the prize of the victor in the reaping contest. The king won and killed Daphnis and carried away Pipili. Hercules defeated the king and rescued Pipili. The other version, there is also another version of the story. So the other version of the story is that Daphnis loved the nymph, but later he fell in love with a princess. In sheer jealousy, the nymph blinded Daphnis. Daphnis invoked his father Mercury, who came to his rescue and carried him to heaven, where he lived in the sky, besabbed sky. So, this is what he is trying to talk about in this particular stanza. So, who carried him to heaven? So, he has gone to heaven. Similarly, Thyrsis, he says, is going to heaven. So, Clo is going to go to heaven is because he has this opportunity of listening to the pastoral songs written by the Sicilian poets. So there thou art gone, and me thou leavest here. Soul in these fields, yet will not despair. Despair I will not, while I yet descry, neath the mild canopy of English air, that lonely tree against the western sky. Still these slopes, this clear our gypsy scholar horns, outliving thee, fields where soft sheep from cages pull the hay. Would with anemones in flowers dismay, know him a wanderer still, then why not me? So now he is again going back to Clo, and he says Clo has left for south, while the poet is still lingering in the English fields. He is alone, yet he must not grow despondent, for the elm tree is still standing on the hilltop, with a pall of darkness hanging in the western sky. The elm tree constantly reminds the poet that the scholar Gypsy, though no more alive, is still wandering in the Oxford countryside in the quest of truth. The scholar's pursuit of truth is unabated. He wanders about in the fields where soft sheep are nibbling grass, and in woods where anemones will continue to bloom till the end of May. The poet is confident that the fields and the woods will not object to his presence in the heart of nature, and for he is also in quest of truth, like scholar Gypsy. So, a fugitive and gracious light he seeks, shy to illumine, and I seek it too. This does not come with houses or with gold, with place, with honor, and a flattering crew. It is not the world's market bought and sold, but the smooth slipping weeks drawn by and leave his seeker still untired. Out of the heat of mortals he is gone. He went unfollowed, he must house alone. Yet on he hears by his own heart inspired. In the following lines, your poet is in continuously speaking to Thyrsis, and he says that not only me but Thyrsis is also a seeker of truth. At first truth seemed to elude the seeker's grasp, but later truth bestows bountifully all its blessing. The seeker waits long, and at last the heavenly light comes and radiates its mind. So shy to illumine, and I seek it too. So it is radiating his mind. Truth is not an earthly commodity which can be bought and sold, or in daily market, or it cannot be found in worldly riches, ranks, positions, or social eminence. The quest for truth must be continued with indefatigable energy. The speaker of truth has no followers. He has to plow a lonely furrow and has to be spiritually sustained by his own hope and inspiration. The poet says he must have singleness of devotion and tenacity of purpose. The scholar Gypsy had these qualities, so has the poet. So he says it's because scholar Gypsy has these qualities. Similarly, he says Thyrsis and Chloe, Thyrsis or Chloe, or Mathew Arnold, he says also have these qualities. So and again he says, thou too, O Thyrsis, on thy quest was vast bound. Thou wanderest with me for a little hour. Man gave thee nothing but this happy quest. If men esteemed thee fable, gave thee power. If men procured thee trouble, gave thee rest. And this rude commoner ground, its fir-topped hurst, its farms, its quiet fields, here camest thou in thy jocund youthful time. Here was thine height of strength, thy golden prime, and still the hand beloved of virtue yields. So the poet says Chloe was never tired of seeking truth. During their student days at Oxford, Chloe and the poet pursued their ideal steadfastly. Chloe derived no material benefits from the world, but the pursuit of truth gave him immense delight, immense happiness, immense satisfaction. The religious controversy that raged at Oxford was of course the cause of his skepticism and despair, but the quest for truth sustained him. He enjoyed youthful bliss when he lived at Oxford amidst the varied beauties of nature. He watched with delight the hill known as Hurst, covered with firs, and the fields lying at rest. It is here that Chloe derived his spiritual strength as well as poetic power. So it is at Oxford where Chloe has derived his spiritual and poetical powers. So what thou the music of thy rustic flute, kept not for long its happy country tone, lost it too soon and learned a stormy note, of men contention tossed, of men who groan. Which skilled thy pipe too sore and tired thy throat, it failed and thou waged mute. Yet hadst thou always visions of her light, and long with men of care thou couldst not stay. And soon thy foot resumed its wandering way, left human haunt, and all alone till night. So in the second last stanza of this particular poem, your poet is describing about the places now to which Chloe has gone. So Chloe's early poetry was fresh and simple, but he could not long retain the simplicity and charm of pastoral poetry. The religious controversy known as the Oxford Moment that happened in Oxford was raging, and Chloe, with his delicate sensibilities, was so much affected that he turned a skeptic. A man with an agitated mind cannot hope to write poetry smoothly. Poetically dumb, he sought truth unweariedly. He scrupulously avoided public company and searched for truth till the last day of his life. And this is the last stanza of the poem by Mathew Arnold, Thyrsis. Too rare, grow my visits here. Mid-city noise not at with thee of yore. Terraces, in reach of sheep bells is my home. Then through the great town's harsh, heart-hearing roar, let in thy voice a whisper often come, to chase fatigue and fear. Why faintest thou? I wondered till I died. Roam on, the light be sought in shining still. Dost thou ask proof? Our tree yet crowns the hill, our scholar travel yet the loved hill. So in the last stanza, he says, too rare, grow my visits here. So the poet's visit to Oxford are scarce now, are rare now. He is forced by circumstances to live amidst the storm and stress of the city, far from the soothing and beneficent life of nature. His ears are no longer regaled by the tinkling of the sheep bells. So Thyrsis is in reach of sheep bells in my home. The poet is confident that whatever he will be dismayed and weary in the heart-consuming town, the voice of Clo will instill strength and courage into his drooping spirit. And he says, and urge him to search for truth. Clo will tell him that he must not falter, for he pursued the truth till his death. Arnold should not also lose heart. He must march onwards in quest of truth. If, however, he should ever feel despondent, he must turn towards the elm tree on the top of the hill. This tree is positive proof that truth is undying. This also is a clear indication that the scholar Gypsy is still wandering in the countryside to achieve his spiritual goal, that is truth. So as you can see, Thyrsis is a companion piece to scholar Gypsy. It is one of the finest poems inspired by Oxford. And in both Thyrsis and scholar Gypsy, Oxford looms large before our vision. Thyrsis is almost unique in English literature and can be compared to Milton's Lycidas, Shelley's Adonis. I hope you have understood the poem. I've also provided you with a critical analysis of the poem after we have finished with this. So in the further slides, you can see that there are a lot of things that have been written. Go through all these things, read all these things. I'm going to also send this PPT along with my audio video. But in case if you have any problem, if there is anything that you have not understood, feel free to ask and try and write in critical appreciation of this poem. We are going to do a little quiz once we are finished with this. So hope that you are understanding all that I am teaching you, and hope that you are studying hard. So stay safe, be happy and keep studying. Thank you so much.